tell you the second thing that came out of that box, and that's more specifically about history. This book started out because a couple friends of mine who are Mormon, they got into a bit of an argument. It started civilly initially. They were talking about one of the basic tenets of the Book of Mormon, which states that basically the Native American Indian tribes of the North American continent, according to the Book of Mormon, actually are descendants of a lost tribe out of Israel. Now, at face value, that's a pretty wild claim. Genetics do not seem to support that claim. The argument basically was on one side of the table was somebody that was a very orthodox Mormon. It was written that way, therefore that he's accepting it on faith as being true. This gentleman over here was also Mormon, less orthodox. He said, well, possibly there's a seed of truth behind that. I'm not accepting that it's just at face value. There must be some I'm not accepting as a Mormon that there's some truth behind it, but maybe not at face value. And it got so heated, they were at one point I thought they were going to get into a fist fight about it. So I thought if they're that excited about this, that maybe there's a story here. So I began looking at Native American history and Jewish lore and the founding of America, and began uncovering all this strange stuff. And the odd thing is it began to fit together like a jigsaw puzzle perfectly. And I thought, well, why didn't anybody put these pieces together in the past? Because it creates a sort of a whole different history of the founding of this country. I'm going to give you one example. Now, what I'm going to explain to you is most people are not aware of, but it's true. You can look it up when you get home, Google it. It's a part of the national record if you look at it. And it concerns basically that there was actually a lost founding father. And everybody knows George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, but there was another founding father that was just as influential as those gentlemen to the founding of this country. And he actually was an Iroquois chief named const. He was a leader at that point of the Iroquois Nation, which was a group of 6 warring Indian tribes that 250 years before the founding of this country banded together as one to basically for the common good. They built their own constitution. They had their own democratic form of government. Women were involved in the government. It was a very detailed organization in which they built. It wasn't just a haphazard. They were very organized and structured. Now, Chief const. was a tall guy, booming voice, very charismatic. He had the ear of all the founding fathers. He, for all intents and purposes, was the rock star of that colonial era. He was doing the tour circuit and everything. And so one of his talks, it was a treaty conference actually, he met with Benjamin Franklin and he said, hey Ben, here, gave Benjamin Franklin a single arrow. And Benjamin was like, I don't know, what's this for? And then the chief took that arrow and snapped it in half and let the pieces drop to the floor. All right, Ben doesn't know what that means. The Indian chief turns around and grabs a bundle of 13 arrows bound together. He tries to bust it across his knee like he did that arrow. This time it would not break. He handed that bundle of 13 arrows to Benjamin Franklin and goes, your 13 squabbling colonies will never survive as single arrows. If you want to survive, you're going to have to bind together like our 6 nations did into one. You're going to have to bind your 13 colonies into one. Only then will you be unbreakable. Well, this so impressed Benjamin Franklin, he actually published const. Speech and spread it across the colonies. Benjamin Franklin was critical to the committee that was designing the national seal. And everybody actually, whoever's got a dollar bill, has got the national seal in their pocket. Everybody knows it. You've got the bald eagle with the outstretched wings. In one hand is a bundle of olive branches, or an olive branch, and the other claw is a bundle of 13 arrows. Well, the bundle of 13 arrows was Benjamin Franklin's acknowledgement and appreciation of Chief const. For his recommendation that it was time for these 13 colonies to join together as one. But how many people know that? Everybody's seen that seal. We've looked at it constantly, but nobody seems to know why that 13 bundle of arrows is in that claw.
I read it in your book.
Oh, thank you. So, and there's other details about that, about how influential the Iroquois Constitution I just described, the Constitution that bound these 6 nations into one, how influential that Constitution was upon our own Constitution. And I'll give you just one example and we'll call it a day. At the Constitutional Convention, where they were organizing to discuss how they wanted to put this Constitution together, John Rutledge, which was the delegate from South Carolina, stood up. He read from the Great Law of Peace, which was the Constitution from the Iroquois. These were the opening words to the Constitution, the Iroquois Constitution. We the people, to form a union, to establish peace, equity, and order, which almost word for word became the preamble to our own Constitution. But how many people know that they were basically just plagiarizing a 250-year-old document written by the Iroquois Nation? Nobody just seems to know that. It's a bit of hidden history. Whether it's just a matter of, Native Americans are trying to whitewash that and keep it very much a white man type of thing versus a red man, I don't know. But of course, as a thriller writer, I have my own opinion. And of course, to find out what that opinion is, right there. So I'm going to end my formal talk. That's a little bit about me, a little bit about the book. And I'm going to open up for Q&A from here.